We're going to talk about another neoliberal candidate, and that's good old Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. Daniel, what's going on with good old Pete?
Well, he has decided, entering the race, currently in fourth place, that the best thing to do is attack Bernie Sanders because that's how you win primaries. So, as a contender, he has said that Bernie Sanders' ideas had novelty in 2016, and they excited some people, but now they're old and no one cares about Medicare for all or paying for students to go to college or any of the things that Bernie Sanders is for and over 70% of the country. Those are ridiculous. No one supports those things. Instead, we need a more establishment candidate. He went to the point, and we covered this previously, that he caught, I think, Kit, you were the one that did a video on it.
I've done a couple of videos, yeah.
That he has said that Sanders supporters and Trump supporters are very similar. And then when a backlash happened, because that doesn't make any sense, he said, what I meant to say is that there's this anti-establishment energy that's out there, and they both have it. Now, what's interesting is that Representative Ro Khanna, who is obviously in Congress, said that it's intellectually dishonest to compare Bernie to Trump, and that Bernie is an anti-establishment in the sense of speaking truth to power. Trump is a propagandist who sells lies, and there's a big difference between the two. So we're living in a situation where Buttigieg, who I remind you, wrote a paper talking about how amazing Bernie Sanders is, but a few years ago, has gotten into the election, and all of a sudden, after taking a lot of corporate money, after changing a little bit of what he's about, having no policies, we watched that town hall together. If you guys want to see that, go back to that. He's spewing everything, and we talked before how he's basically just taken a bunch of the people that were interested in Beto O'Rourke, and he's moved them over to his camp, that he is a guy to go with. Now, what I want to open up to you guys is, this is a very interesting way to act so early in the primary for him to attack Bernie Sanders so strong, so quickly. And I wonder if he's making himself the candidate that does the attacks on Bernie Sanders so that they can give cover to people like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
Yeah, sorry. So I definitely want to add in some commentary for good old Pete Buttigieg. Look, looking at his policies, he is definitely questionable whether or not he truly is a progressive. Because if you look at his past policies, especially in South Bend, he has gentrified a lot of communities there, and he has even admitted it during that town hall that he was that they were making mistakes during that entire gentrification process. People got evicted out of their homes for no good reason at all. In fact, they didn't do their due diligence. And there's a couple other issues too, which you would think Pete Buttigieg would be aware of. He's saying he's for the environment and that he's for the protection of immigrants. Well, I would really like to know what his comments are, especially on the industrial facilities that are in East Chicago and Gary, Indiana, that are dumping, regulated toxic waste into Lake Michigan and into our water supply. That's something that we should talk about. And not to mention, there's also industrial facilities that are polluting the air as well. And it's really, really sickening to think what's happening in East Chicago and Gary, Indiana. And speaking of Gary, Indiana, there's the Gary-Chicago International Airport, in which immigrants, illegal immigrants, are basically sent there and deported en masse on 3 bus loads.
I want to make one clarification, because I want to. The immigrants we're talking about are arrested for jaywalking, like shoplifting, like super minor crimes.
Yeah, but they're chained like animals, and we actually showed that video at last Saturday's show, but check it out. It's interesting that Pete Buttigieg is saying all these things. I would like to know what his comments are, though, on those 2 different areas, especially in his own backyard of Indiana. And then him attacking Bernie Sanders and saying that his policies are kind of old, or that everyone else is adopting them and maybe he shouldn't be in the race. Well, gee, I can remember when good old Pete Buttigieg wrote this very nice article about Bernie Sanders in early 2000 and how it helped him get motivated to be involved in politics. I look at Pete Buttigieg as another neoliberal candidate. Mind you, he's polling at 9%. He's not the heavyweight. Now that Biden is in the race, he's taken away some of the thunder away from the establishment candidates. But he's not helping anybody in this race, Pete Buttigieg. And he's somebody that's going to try and court the neoliberal establishment already right now. The only thing working for his advantage is that he has a lot of Obama donors supporting him, especially here in the city of Chicago. So he's still going to be in the race, but I question everything in regards to his policies, and I would like his comments on those 2 areas in Indiana. You know, I mean, he has to know about them. He just can't pretend he doesn't know.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not necessarily in South Bend. He doesn't necessarily have direct control over that.
Yeah, of course. And just to clarify, the Gary Chicago International Airport is like an hour and 20 minutes away from South Bend, Indiana. Same thing for those industrial facilities too. But I would like to know what his thoughts are, because he should know about them just to some degree.
Exactly. Pete Buttigieg, if you're listening, we would love to interview you.
Yeah,
put you through your paces.
Again, if we're misinterpreting anything, we're very good with interviews. You've seen, we've talked to anyone, we're very fair.
Yeah. One of the things that I continue to come back to is it is not clear to me what policy platforms he is in favor of. Yeah. He literally made the argument during the town hall that we shouldn't talk about our policies. That's a mistake to go policy first. What we need to do is talk about why we have the ideology we have. We need to talk in platitudes and the things that we think are good and stuff. And then that way, later on, our policies will make sense when we eventually get around to saying what they are, which is dumb. It's super duper dumb. If you put a policy out there, implicit in that policy is why you feel that way. That's obvious to anyone who understands or can even conceptualize what that policy is you're talking about. If you say, hey, I have this policy proposal, I like net neutrality, we should add net neutrality laws into the FCC. We should categorize internets as common carriers, type 2 common carriers, and we should regulate it as a public utility. I wonder why he says that. I don't understand what his ideology is. We're completely lost. What do you mean? That's dumb.
Here's something else we should take away from Pete Buttigieg. Notice that when the Democratic candidates specifically start attacking Bernie Sanders, it's a sign of desperation. It means that they're running out of ideas and they want to cause, I guess, some kind of drama so that it brings more people to them, to where like maybe some neoliberal voters and establishment donors are like, yeah, you know what? This guy can stand against Bernie Sanders. Remember, at first it was Kamala Harris. Then it became Beto O'Rourke, who's now only good at standing on top of tables. That's the only thing he's good at, guys.
And skateboarding.
I question that entirely.
For a politician.
Okay. There we go. Never mind. Daniel was to win. And then finally, then it came good old Pete Buttigieg, and all their thunder has been taken away. Now that Biden's into the race, and now there's some talk about Kamala Harris resurging again. It's just going back and forth. And let's just admit it. These establishment Democrats, all what they're good at is just spewing out platitudes. That's all what they're good at, and they haven't learned their lesson since 2016.
But here's the question I have. So is it the strategy that you're kind of articulating there that like, well, we tried Cory Booker and people saw through that, and let's try Kamala and people saw through that. Let's try this.
What I'm getting at.
Do you think it's just roll out another one until people see through it?
They're proverbially just throwing shit at a wall until something sticks.
Yes.
And so they're just, because I think generally, and that's why we covered before that they have that anti-Bernie meeting they're terrified of Bernie Sanders. And like I said last time, this is why I think that he has, much like, because I also judge how the other side's acting. They wouldn't, if it was going to be rigged to the point where it didn't really matter how popular Bernie Sanders was, they wouldn't have an anti-Bernie meeting. They wouldn't have everyone coming together. They wouldn't have someone that is dedicating to see what'll stick. They wouldn't be doing everything they can to just frantically find someone. This is back.
Well, they can't overtly rig it, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
That's what I'm saying.
They could,
and
they couldn't like
at this point. And again, they basically did that last cycle, and they lost to Trump, and they lost so much of their own base lost faith in them, a very large amount. And what is going to happen to the Democratic Party if they get caught doing it again? Because everyone's going to be watching this time. People are already watching this time so far, which is partly why they're having such a hard time getting people to stick, because they'll put out Kamala and we'll be like, haha, we have a whole list. Like, they don't even need to have some fancy person that gets $300,000 a year to do opposition research on Kamala. Everyone has been waiting for this, and as a group of people, they've already put it together. We know what she's done. We know she let Mnuchin through. We know what she did with Churchill. We know all the things that she's done. We know all the things that Biden's done. I just put out a video yesterday of how excited we are that Biden's entering the race because he has so much baggage to attack at. Buttigieg, when we first started on the team, we were like, oh, this is really cool. It's South Bend. It might be a little bit interesting here and there. But now that we see his policies, we say it and then we say it. At the same time, online media is much stronger than it's ever been. Television media is far weaker. You have to understand that, like I said, you can't just say, people go, oh, he's going to rig the election and that's how it is. It's not that simple. There's a power structure that they can't get their way out of. There enough people are against them. They really can't do dick about it, no matter what they want to do.
So I just want to add one very important note, because Daniel, you mentioned that secret meeting, and I actually did a short live stream video about that secret meeting. And guess who was part of that meeting?
Oh, who was it?
The mayor of South Bend. His name is Pete Buttigieg. I think he has some relation.
There.
Wait, I think it's the same guy. So look, guys.
Let me go check this.
So guys, look.
Same.
You see this? This is the Library of Alexandria right here. Your cell phone. All the information you want on the candidates. Pull it up. The DNC, they can't do the same kind of game that they used to do before. And they're just going to keep on throwing shit at the wall. Hopefully something's going to stick for them. But right now, they're placing their bets on Biden. Who knows if Kamala might be it or not. But guys, remember, we have to be aware because the DNC is afraid of Bernie Sanders. Look at all the negative articles on him already. Look at how they're attacking him all the time. But yet it's not working. And if Bernie Sanders can walk out of Fox News untouched and still remain confidently in the lead and is still getting support and still out fundraising all the other candidates, I don't believe this crap about Biden just constantly, getting, 6.3 million? Whoop-de-doo. You're still behind Sanders. You're never going to beat him. And if you try and commit election fraud again, you guys are going to lose to Trump, because that's what happens when you run a corporate candidate. Remember 2016. So speaking of which, go ahead, add one more comment in. Yeah.
You know what Biden doesn't have? You know what Buttigieg doesn't have?
What about Beto O'Rourke too?
Beto O'Rourke, a 1,000,000-man army. Bernie Sanders already this early on has about 1/300th of Americans that have donated to him and said that they will volunteer for him. Now, I don't know how much money would cost to hire 1,000,000 Americans, but Sanders has them for free. Sanders is raising money every single month at small donor. Biden's already capped out because he's gone to corporate donors. They are terrified that they will not be able to stop Sanders. So no matter what you hear, always keep that in mind, that they are worried that he will be too strong for them to stop. And that's why they're doing everything that we see here. That's why they have these secret meetings, because they're scared that 40 years of neoliberal rule is about to end and they can't do anything about it.
We are the many, they are the few.
Yeah.